for your help today, Darren.
Yeah, really great.
No worries.
All right, guys, it's time for another Rumble in the Jungle with Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
In this sequel to the 2010 hit Donkey Kong Country Returns, Tropical Freeze begins with Donkey Kong and his pals celebrating the Great Ape's birthday in style.
But it seems the Kongs can't catch a break these days, as a sudden mysterious chill blows in thanks to some rather sinister-looking Arctic animals, flinging the family far off into the distance.
With their island paradise now encased in a powerful permafrost, the Kongs must island hop their way back home, completing challenging side-scrolling levels, collecting multiple hidden secrets, and battling a whole barrel full of frosty new fiends.
It's so great to see some fun and creative enemy design in this series again. I wasn't really a big fan of the floating tiki masks from the last game, but these icy Viking invaders feel far more fitting to the DK universe. Just look at this little archer penguin. Aw, so cute.
Yes, cute but dangerous, which I think perfectly sums up Tropical Freeze. Each bright and cheerful level is packed full of hazardous obstacles and tricky platforming sections that will have even long-time Donkey Kong Country fans going through more red balloons than ever before. And this time there's no super guide to help you. You'll just have to learn the level by failing again and again and again, just like the old days.
Well, I never had any trouble navigating the 6 island stages. There are now a few extra items you can purchase from Funky Kong to assist you.
Yes, those invincibility potions certainly came in handy during the boss battles. Of course, the biggest addition to this game are 2 new playable Kongs. Dixie Kong with her helpful helicopter hairspin, and Cranky Kong with his pogo walking stick that allows him to jump higher and cross treacherous spike pits unharmed.
And these extra characters can really change the way you approach each level. I found myself using Diddy's jetpack and Dixie's spin the most, but I was surprised at how useful I found Cranky's pogo, especially to reach collectibles or just jump over enemies completely. I also liked how you could pick and change the initials on each buddy barrel by slapping the ground in front of it.
You can now also activate a special Kong Pow ability to clear the screen of enemies, which is a nice addition, but it does tend to break the flow of the game, which is all about focusing on perfectly timing your jumps and barrel blasts.
Another feature I was surprised to see, or not see in this case, was the lack of Wii U gamepad integration. I mean, maybe it's because the devs thought it would be too distracting to look away from the screen, or maybe it was to save on battery life, I don't know, but regardless it feels a bit weird to have nothing there at all.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that, because on the one hand it proves that not every single Wii U game needs to use the screen for something, but on the other, have this piece of fancy tech, why not use it for something? Maybe level progression, or lives, anything.
Luckily, the game's creators haven't skimped out on the most important part of a DK game, the level design.
Yeah, I agree, Darren. It's just wonderful. In fact, they introduce a new idea almost every single level, so no two ever feel the same. And it was also great to see a return of those strangely calming underwater levels.
There's just so much creativity and imagination bursting out of all of these generously large levels. Scenery will blend from one environment to another with clever transitions, including some great 3D camera work.
There's also the 2-player crazy co-op shenanigans and the return of Time Attack with the feature to post times and watch other players speedrun. All in all, this is a seriously tricky but rewarding platformer that's an absolute blast to play. I'm giving it 9 out of 10.
Yes, you know, I was starting to think that maybe Nintendo was falling behind when it came to platformers, especially after we had that excellent Rayman Legends from Ubisoft last year. But I'm happy to say that the King of Kongs is back in tip-top form. I'm giving this 9 out of 10 as well.
Well, now it's time to barrel blast our way back to the lush jungles of Donkey Kong Island on the 3DS. Are you all right?
Yes, heck's nothing but a practice run fix. But yes, the Great Ape returns in this 2010 Wii Classic re-release called Donkey Kong Country Returns, and now it's in 3D.
If you played the original Wii version, or any of the older Super Nintendo titles for that matter, then you'll know that the Donkey Kong series is all about frantic 2D platforming as you navigate Donkey and his trusty sidekick Diddy through a series of island levels.
Yes, as you work your way through the 8 main worlds, you'll be collecting bananas for extra lives, Kong letters and puzzle pieces for unlocks, as well as banana coins to spend on special items that can be equipped before starting each level.
You can play the story solo or with a friend.
But they will need their own 3DS and their own copy of the game.
Well, yes. And in typical Nintendo fashion, there's not a whole lot of story to it. It's just bright levels, fun characters, and tight gameplay.
Affirmative. Just as every Mario game is about the princess being kidnapped, every DK game has to be about his precious banana hoard being stolen. Only this time it's due to a bunch of haunted tiki masks hypnotising the jungle inhabitants.
Yes, when this first came out on the Wii, I remember not being too impressed with the new enemy type. I missed those dastardly Kremlins and the noise they made when you jumped on their head. Brong! Brong! Luckily, they make up for it with brilliant level design.
Totally, Bajo. Each one feels new and original with new challenges to overcome. Also, the controls translate perfectly onto the 3DS. Gone is the waggle to roll, replaced with a simple button press, which helps once you get some momentum up and start to hit that jungle groove.
Yes, the less waggle in games, the better, I think, Hex. And the controls do feel spot on. Stringing enemy jumps together, timing barrel blasts, and of course, steering through those minecart levels that will definitely take more than one go to complete.
Yes, those are tricky, but I have to say I really enjoyed the challenge because the learning curve here is spot on. Unfortunately, though, it appears the series might be going the way of Mario with an additional game mode that tries to make the game easier.
Affirmative. The new mode grants each character an additional heart as well as extra items that can be purchased from Cranky's store, such as green balloons that save you from falls and a crash guard potion that makes your minecart temporarily invincible.
Yes, and while this may come in handy for any spawnlings who've never played the original or who are just into platformers in general, it also takes away that challenge that really made the original such a satisfyingly tricky game.
Yes, I think it's an opportunity missed. If anything, they should make it more challenging.
To be fair, they have included 8 new levels that you can access once you finish the game, and while they do feel a little bit like a remix of what's already there, I don't know, I think we've been a bit harsh on this game. I mean, in my opinion, this is still one of the greatest platformers out there. The 3D effect is worth the replay alone.
I think we haven't been harsh enough, Hex. Think of it this way. If you've got a sandwich and it's delicious, a delicious cheese sandwich, and you eat it for the first time, it's amazing. But then if you have that same cheese sandwich again and again and again, it loses all impact. And that's how I feel about a lot of Nintendo games, because they just keep re-releasing the same thing. So I just think it should have been a whole brand new adventure. So I'm going to play the bad guy and give it 6 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Ouch. Oh no, I disagree. I mean, I think this is one of the greatest platformers out there. And for spawnlings who've never played it or missed out playing it on the Wii, then now they have it on a portable handheld, which is just great, I think. So I'm giving it 9.
Do you think DK ever gets sick of bananas?
Oh, maybe, Darren. I don't know. I don't get sick of bananas. They're always quite tasty and they're good for you. Hold on to your coconut spawnlings because Nintendo's Great Ape and Chimpanzee Chum returns.
Donkey and Diddy Kong are back to their side-scrolling shenanigans, and Donkey Kong Country returns. And this time it's got a very retro feel to it.
Yes, but just in case you never played the originals, Darren, how about we run your denubification process and tell us a bit about them?
Oh, affirmative. The original Donkey Kong Country appeared in 1994 on the Super Nintendo home console, and it immediately became a classic of the platform genre. It featured gameplay in a mere 2 dimensions, but with advanced pre-rendered 3D graphics that set it apart from other games in its class. It also introduced the world to Diddy Kong, the smaller, cheekier monkey of the DK duo.
was really good fun as well. And I remember playing the original and just having such a good time with it. And you know what, Hex, when I started playing this one, I felt the exact same way.
Yeah, me too. And I think it's because Nintendo and the game's developer, Retro Studios, were really heavy with the nostalgia here. You control both Donkey and Diddy Kong in classic gap-jumping, baddie-bouncing style. There's an old-fashioned map screen linking together the many tropical island-themed worlds, and loads of other little things from previous games like the DK barrels that'll respawn your lost companion, or the rideable animal mounts like Rambi the rhinoceros.
All the vine swinging, ground pounding, and barrel blasting make it a very nostalgic experience, but the 2.5D level design makes it more than just a nostalgic trip. You know, it's not just more of the same, it's more of the same, but it looks a bit better. Some of the new levels feature really cool additions like the huge tidal waves crashing from the background to the foreground, jet-propelled rocket rides, and some really beautiful levels that take place entirely in silhouette. And of course, there's always minecarts.
So many minecarts.
One thing that didn't make a reappearance, which I was a bit disappointed about, Hex, were the Kremlings. You know, they're Donkey Kong's foes from the very first game, and they're just not here.
Indeed. I always found the Kremlings to be a most agreeable foe. The emission of such evil genius is a gaming crime of the highest order. It's an outrage. I shall find who is responsible and then charge my laser!
Hold that laser, Darren. The baddies aren't all that bad. I mean, sure, they are just a bunch of haunted tiki masks and an army of seafood soldiers, and they're not as cool as the Kremlings, but the game does offer some really cool boss characters like this one. There's also some new control features that make use of the Wiimote. You can shake the controller to make Donkey or Diddy pound the ground, which will open up new passageways and secrets, and Donkey can blow out fires while Diddy shoots peanuts. It never gets too complex, and it stays far from Wagglefest territory.
One new thing that this game does well is co-op, with 2 players able to play as Donkey and Diddy. Co-op is definitely a lot of fun, but if you think that playing co-op is going to make things easier, think again, because you lose lives twice as fast. And I guess it's a good trade-off if you've got someone to monkey about with.
I think the best thing I'll take away from DK Country Returns is the music. And the reason why it's so great is it's because they haven't messed with it at all. In fact, it almost sounds identical to the original tunes.
And I think that plays into the whole philosophy behind this game, which is it's old school platforming polished up for a new audience, and mostly it works. I think if you're a fan of the original games, you'll get a great nostalgic trip here, but even if you're not, this is a great platforming game, and I'm giving it 9 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I think this game will hold a lot more value for old schoolers than it will for new players, just because it is so deeply nostalgic, you know. But having said that, I still think it's up there with the likes of New Super Mario Bros. Wii as one of this generation's best traditional platformers, so I'm going to give it 8.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
It reminded me of one of my favourite bands,
What's that, Darren?
Bananarama!
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Affirmative.
I don't know what it's talking about, Hex.
Ring, 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 banana phone.
Now look what you've done.
Ring, 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 ring,
gonna go
ring,
for a
ring,
while.
banana phone. They come in bunches. I've got my hunches.